All right, everyone, welcome back to the show. Today we are here with Keira Poulsen, who is an inspirational speaker, an intuitive energetic healer, and a mother to five amazing children. She loves to speak to inspire audiences to address their trauma pain in order to awaken their deepest gifts. And her memorable and powerful storytelling, as well as candid speaking style, creates an incredible connection and intimacy with her audiences. So I am so excited to have you on the show today, Keira. Thank you for coming. Thank you for
Oh,
being
I'm
here.
so excited. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one. I'm super excited to share everything that we talked about with everyone. But I always like to start each interview by asking my guests the question, what sparks your soul?
Mm, I would say what sparks my soul is helping women begin to find the deep purpose that's inside of them and actually like birth it, like bring it to earth. It Nothing is more fun and rewarding than that.
So beautiful. And, that's like what sparks my soul too. So I love that we can collaborate on this. And I'm excited to hear your perspective on everything and what you teach people because that's the coolest thing. Like, even when our purposes are aligned, there's like different intricacies in how we show up with them. So, super excited to share that with everybody. Will you tell us your journey to where you are now? Like, how did you become a speaker? How did you become an intuitive energetic healer? And how did you decide to have five children?
Right. I think the children came first. I've always just had like what I call like a mama heart, like a real desire to be a mom. And babies, I mean, I could have a million babies. I
Oh.
love babies so much. And then I started raising them and I was like, yeah, I think we should stop at five. Like, there's a whole heap that goes into raising them past the babies. So that was the beginning of my journey, was just being a mom and bringing these babies forward. And then I had my fifth and I lost myself. I lost myself in the sleepless nights, and my husband worked all the time, and I just was like a single mom pretty much. And I had always been a dreamer. And then it was like nothing. And I remember it really hit me when I went to a church function and it was like a Christmas activity. And they were like, bring the thing that you love. And I was like, I, I have no idea. I mean, I know I love Dr. Pepper. And then I was like a super Dr. Pepper addict at that point. I am 2 years clean at this moment. So we're feeling really good about that. But I mean, at that point, it was like my best friend. It was my only thing that I felt like I really loved. And that's when I knew like there's a real problem here. Like something got lost along the way. And um and then it just kind of turned into this feeling super lost. I remember there was this one night, I don't know if you've ever heard the song Sarah Bareilles' She Used to Be Mine. Have you ever heard that song?
I don't think so, but I like her.
I love
Yeah.
Sarah. And I remember it was one night, I used to be a dancer, and I was in my kitchen. It was late at night. The kids were all in bed. The dishes were like up to my eyeballs. And I was doing the dishes and I had Alexa playing, and then that song came on. I'd never heard it in my life. And it was like, I actually like dropped to my knees and I just remember just bawling. Like, yeah, she used to be me. Like, I used to be this dancer and dreamer and hope filled person. And I don't even know if there's a dream left in me. And that was the beginning of finding my purpose.
Wow. Ugh. I love so much about that. Just going back to the music piece, like it's just so powerful when you find songs, music, artists that like speak to your soul. And I was a gymnast and a cheerleader, so I did a lot of dancing. I wasn't like a dancer, but I can relate to that. Like when you're used to moving your body to music, it just like,
Mm.
it hits you.
It's a language.
Um,
It's like this language
yeah.
that something inside of me connects to. And hearing that song, it like stirred the old dancer, which I think really stirred the like oh, where'd she go? Like, I used
Yes.
to have her.
Mhm.
It was an impactful moment for me.
Mm, so beautiful. And I also like how you brought up just how you lost yourself and you're open about that because I'm not a mother, but I know like from talking to my mom and like the mothers that I have had on my retreats and have had as clients, it's really hard to keep up with yourself when you're raising children, if you're working, if you're, I mean, raising kids is a full-time job. So I think that's something that probably everybody feels.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you can be open about that is really important.
Yeah.
How did that lead into um did you already have your intuitive did you already know you had your intuitive gifts? Were you tapped into them? Or did that come after?
So I was raised in a really interesting family. My dad's a healer, my mom's a healer.
Oh.
So healing was just it was the name of my life, right? Like I just grew up, we just healing was our language. And actually when after I had my fourth child, I started to dive in and do healing work. And I actually began a pretty successful healing practice. So it wasn't like I had nothing, right? Like I was, and I want to back up, like entrepreneurship was always part of my life. So I always, I was a massage therapist since I was 18. I always had a side business. I had a photography business. I taught dance in my garage. Like it's not like I was just sitting around watching bonbons, like eating bonbons, like people like I wasn't doing nothing, but the dreaming was gone. And so I had started this realm of healing and loved it. It was helping people so much, but something was missing. And it was really what it was my own personal healing. And even though I had been to therapists my whole life, I mean, both my parents being healers and both of them are therapists, it was like, this is just what you do. You go to therapy,
Mhm.
you get healing. But I had some pretty intense trauma as a child. I was sexually abused as a child. And even though I thought I had done all the healing work, I really hadn't. And so as I hit that moment that I didn't have any more dreams left, it was the exact same time that I went to dinner with my husband for my birthday. And he said, "What dreams do you have for your birthday year?" Just like casual
Mhm.
question. And I just broke down sobbing in the restaurant. And I was like, I got nothing left. And he was like, you have 3 days to come up with some dreams. And so it began to be where I would just pray every day, God, help me to remember how to dream. Help me to remember my purpose. Like I know something's in here and I can't remember anything. And then 5 months later, all of my trauma memories resurfaced and I dived into the deepest painful rebirth of my life. And it was from that breaking that everything that I do now was birthed.
Mm. Yeah, I feel like it's so interesting because we can think that we've healed, but
Right.
how life is showing up in front of us shows us whether or not we're healed. Um and so many times like we have to go to like those deepest darkest places, those like rock bottoms, right, to rise up. What like tools did you use to find your way out of that place?
EMDR was my saving grace. If I hadn't, I had never done EMDR. I'd done a lot of talk therapy or some kinesiology, but there was something that worked best for me with EMDR. It was it was life changing, and I know it's because it began to shift my brain patterns, and that's where you get to really see new results, right? It's
Mhm.
like the trauma went in, created these patterns within my brain, and EMDR unlocks it and creates a new way. So I did so much healing, but the truth is I really feel like I had to break. I had to feel like a part of me or all of me died so
Mhm.
that I could rebirth into this brand new way of life, which was like a real commitment to listening to the divine, a real commitment to serving humanity in whatever way, shape, or form that looked. And it's been, I mean, it was the hardest experience of my life. Like, I'm not sugarcoating it. Like, I had lots of suicidal ideation, lots of like wanting to leave this earth. Trauma pain is no joke. It's severe, it's intense, but it's what uncovered my gifts.
Wow, yeah. I always love to look back on, the different parts of my life. And it's super cool when you see, wow, I had that like horrible time of my life of pain and suffering. And like, this is the beauty that came out of it. It's like that lotus flower, the lotus flower rising above the muddy waters. So yeah, will you explain a little bit more about what EMDR is for
Yeah.
people and me?
Super.
Because I don't know a lot about it. Yeah.
I will tell you how I found it, because I didn't know what to do. I was very suicidal, because trauma pain makes you just be like, why would I exist? Trauma pain is very cloudy, it's very dark, and it makes it hard to want to be in your body. It's super painful, especially sexual abuse trauma. It has a lot to do with not wanting to be in your body. And so I remember praying and asking God, like, you got to guide me. Like, I have 5 kids. I want to stay here for them. I need to show up. Like, you have to give me some tools. And so I reached out on Facebook and I said, hey, I'm looking for a therapist, in a very sweet and like, no one know the hell I'm going through. I'm looking for a therapist.
Just casually want to go
It's a
get
real
my thoughts
casual,
out.
yeah,
Yeah.
Facebook post. And I had many people put down names, and one person, you know how you just feel like God highlights something. He just highlighted someone's name. I had no idea what type of therapy she did, but it was EMDR, which is rapid eye therapy. And it's really powerful because she has you go back into a trauma feeling, and then you have to blink your eyes really quickly while moving the pupils of your eyes. And it's the connection of the feeling with the movement of the eyes that actually switches the brain patterns within your brain. And
Wow.
it's extraordinary. And I spent week in, week out for who knows how long. And it didn't feel, and I really want to presence this because I've heard this from other people who've done EMDR. It didn't feel better. It felt worse. I felt like I left her office feeling worse, but I knew she was who I was supposed to work with. And so I kept going until finally the pain wasn't there anymore. So it's not like, oh, I feel so good. I'm so glad I went to therapy. It's like, oh no, I feel like freaking hell. And I'm going to keep going because I know I have to make it through this pain if I'm going to exist here.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I've seen working with people how that initial like finding that initial awareness of what's really going on down deep is painful. And it can be physically painful, especially if it's deep trauma, like you said. So I think that's something important for people to remember, even if they're just starting out. And you can correct me if I'm wrong or tell me what you think, but even if they're just starting out with like meditation and thought awareness, and that's bringing up stuff and it's making them feel a lot of pain, what I try to remind them is that stuff has to come up, it has to come out. And then on the other side of it, if you stay consistent, like you just said, you'll find the relief and you'll
Mhm.
start to feel better, right? Is
Oh,
that
100%.
yeah.
And I do healing work every day on myself. If I miss a day, oh man, like
Mhm.
healing is the key to success in all areas of my life. Like, I just know it, I feel it. And that's what I teach the women I work with. It's like every day you need to be in healing, because otherwise it starts to cake on like mud, and then it starts to harden, and then we got to soften it, and then we got to clean it out. But if you're just always on top of it, it doesn't get to cake up.
I mean, that makes so much. It's like cleaning your house.
It is,
Don't
right?
clean it for a month. It's going to be a shit show.
Exactly. It's a weekly process, or it's a daily thing. I mean, if you didn't brush your teeth every day, it'd be pretty nasty. And it's like the
Yeah.
same thing, right? Like, I just, I just believe every woman is super empathic, whether they know it or not. And being empathic means that you go to the grocery store and you can pick up the clerk's energy. That means if you have children, amen, you are picking up their energy. You're married? Well, bring it on along, right? So every day, if we can just do a general cleanse of our energy, letting go of everybody else's stuff, we are going to feel so much more in alignment, and our vibrations will always be higher.
Yeah. So, can you give us an example of how you do that?
Yeah. So I did create something called the awaken practice, but, and that's just like a quick 10-minute, because I mean, as a mom of five, I'm like, how do I create a practice that anybody can do? And so it's just 10 minutes. You take a chakra a day, whatever chakra you need, and you visualize light going in, you cleanse it. I do a deep breathing practice where we breathe in what we're wanting and we breathe out what we're letting go. And it's so simple. You're like, how could that work? But it works. Just simple, focus, intentional work. And then I actually have a shielding practice. I'll actually email you the link.
Mm.
I have a free shielding practice. This is something I do every day of my life. I suggest everyone who is empathic or aware of it. It's a nice cleansing with light and then a shielding with light, which
Oh,
really helps
so
you
good.
not pick up all the stuff.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes. That's
Okay.
so important for people. And I think especially people that are like dealing with a lot of people on a day to day, like our health practitioners. And I mean, as a yoga teacher, I had to learn how to like protect my energy from people, and it was definitely a practice because I used to be so drained. And then it's like also limiting the amount of people I let myself be surrounded by, which is a little easier this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm super excited to do that practice and share it with everybody. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Yeah, it really is helpful.
Yeah. And maybe we can talk about this now. Like, I love that you just are making things short and sweet, because whether you're a parent or you just have a really busy work schedule, I think that's the biggest excuse you find with people, is that like they don't have time for these things. And I mean, these should be priority number one, like taking care of yourself and all of that. But do you have any other tips? We talked about this a little bit before, but for mothers who are feeling really overwhelmed with staying true to themselves, taking care of themselves, also like taking care of their kids, and everyone's homeschooling right now or doing like partial homeschool, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, this is my favorite conversation, because I really feel like if we, and it's so cliche to use this, but I'm just going to use it. If we are not putting gas in the car, it's not going to go. It's just not
Yeah.
going. And nourishing our souls, like really deep nourishing, that's what's going to always keep us fueled. And then we get to show up everywhere. But as soon as that gets depleted, that's when we get really upset. That's when we lose our patience. That's when we get cynical, resentful, blaming, because those are like tired behaviors, right? Like
Yeah.
when you're tired, all those behaviors show up because you don't have a lot holding them in. You don't have a lot, just like, it's like all just like, blah. So something I love to
Totally.
teach about is sacred space. I'm sure you have a sacred space, and I just feel so um strongly about creating a sacred space, because I I don't have anywhere in my house that's mine. I share my bedroom with my husband, and every other place in this home is communal. And so I have a place in the back of my pantry covered with crystals and all the good things.
Ooh, it's like a little cave.
It's a little cave. And I go there every morning, and it's dedicated to the communing with the divine. It's an essential part of my life, and it can look however it looks for people. If they want to talk to God, if they want to talk to their angels, if they want to just be in meditation, but having a place where that's where you begin your day, where you are in deep spiritual communion, it is going to give you all the fuel and more to keep going. And you don't even have to spend more than 10 minutes in there, but most definitely, you're probably going to find that is the most delicious part of your day, and you're going to wake up 30 minutes early because you want to get in there and really partake of that goodness.
Hmm. I love that. Yeah. So basically, people can find any spot for themselves and create, yeah, have their meditation cushion, have their crystals or their sage or like anything that they want to incorporate, and make a little altar for themselves. And yeah,
Mhm.
I love that. And it's just a way to really expand on like basic meditation. And it's interesting. I feel like um that's been coming up for me a lot, like I usually meditate like on my floor in front of my bed, and I'm like, I want to make a little altar, you know. take it to the
Mhm.
next level. How do you commune with the divine? Like, how do your meditations? So you do your chakra cleansing and
Mhm.
you do your shield. Do you
Mhm.
do anything else?
Oh, girl, I got
Give us
all.
all your tools.
Oh, so many fun things. Like I love it. It's just my favorite work. Spiritual work is that's dessert to me. I could do that all day long. And so I have a whole bucket of things I love. And then I always start in prayer because for me, God is like a huge part of my world. But I know God sometimes has different energy for people. So I
Mhm.
like to use the word divine because everyone can resonate there without any sort of trauma. And I go in and I always talk with the divine first. And then I call in all my angels and I start asking my angels to support me in all the areas that I need help with. They're my best team, they're my best supporters. Uh, Everything gets done faster when I work with my angels. I have chanting that I love to chant. I love to
Me
chant. It's just,
too.
oh, it's so good. I have my favorite oracle cards are by Alana Fairchild. So I've got a whole bunch of her cards and those are just like playtime. If I can pull a card at morning, it's so much fun. A lot of journaling. I actually have a new book coming out that
Oh,
I mean, I have the proof, so I'm working through it, but it's a journaling book called Rise Up and Awaken to the Joy of Being Human. And it's a morning practice and an evening practice. So that's a part of my morning practice is working through these journal questions that I just feel like the divine gave me. Like, I'm like, wow, this is a
mhm.
great question. I don't remember ever writing this. This is fantastic. Thank you. That was really nice.
Channeled that right through. Yeah.
Like, this is fantastic. I love this book. Um, and then I don't know. Have you ever heard of the book The Magic?
No.
Oh,
Tell us. I love hearing new books.
it's magic. It's a 28-day practice, but you can always be doing it. And it's the deepest level of gratitude I've ever worked through. Crazy crap happens when you do the full 28 days. It's been about a year since I've done the full 28 days, but like finances double, marriages, like my marriage healed, like all these crazy things. And it's
Mm,
all based in the principle of like really deep gratitude. It's so good.
I'm gonna get that. That sounds
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. I think
And
it's
I
like
just love what's that?
it's like $12.99. It's like the best $13 you'll ever spend in your life.
Yes, we're all gonna go do it. And I just love talking about it like that because I love just looking at the world like it is magical and it is. And if we do this deep healing, if we dedicate ourselves to these practices, we really get to see magic in our lives and share our gifts with the world.
Mhm.
Um, I want to talk to you about how people can, take those morning practices and really create a lifestyle that's centered around sharing their gifts and impacting the world because that is one of the reasons we're all here is to do
Yeah.
that, right?
Amen. Oh my gosh.
Woo.
This is my favorite conversation actually. My favorite conversation is this because I get to watch the women in my programs. Like one of them just showed up 6 months ago and she's like, I'm here. I have no idea why I'm here. I don't have no idea what I want to create. I have nothing. And I own a publishing house, so I really always promote people write books if God tells them to. In 6 months' time, she's written 4 children's books that are just beautiful. And she's published 2 in the last 4 weeks. 2 are being published in the next 2 weeks. She like picked up painting again, created the most amazing painting, The Divine Mother, has it being sold in prints. And it was like 6 months. That's 6 months' time. And this is what I believe happens when women devote themselves to the divine and willing to hear the call, whatever the call is. Like they don't need to know how to do it. They don't need to know the whole plan. They just need to feel it, honor it, and take the first step, which is what's the first step? Ask the divine. What's the first step? You give me this crazy idea. What's the first step? And every time you can take it that way, you'll watch miracles unfold one
Mhm.
step at a time, not the whole blueprint, just one step at a time.
Yeah, I love that. Just asking and yeah, taking it back to prayer. Like you said, it can make people feel uncomfortable when they think of maybe praying to God. If they were raised religious and it didn't resonate, or if they weren't raised religious, or um, So I love that you touched on that because you don't have it's not a religious thing, it's a spiritual thing and like connecting and co-creating with spirit through that modality is so important. And I find that when I remember to pray versus just meditating, when I incorporate both, I see things show up a lot more powerfully in my life.
Yes.
So
Oh,
I love
okay.
that.
So I know I said I was
Yeah.
going to give you a shoulder practice, but I got to give you guys another thing, and I'll just bundle it so it's just one link. But I have
Yay.
like my favorite tool because I'm a little ADD. Like I think most creators are, right? Like most creators have like 1 billion ideas at all the times, right?
We both showed up here like, ah, today.
I was like, oh, you, my people. Yeah, we're the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Kindred spirits.
So like this is how I find most creators are. And you throw on a busy job or you throw on multiple children plus all the bazillion ideas that the divine is giving you. And it's like, well, how are you ever going to catch tread? Like, how are you ever going to see something actually happen? And so, one of my favorite tools I teach in the Spiritual Entrepreneur, which is this program I run, it's called Altar Tools. And it's so powerful and it's so simple, but I've never had someone do it and not get something out of it. So, the main thing is like taking your idea, taking whatever God has given, like this divine voice has given to you in your heart, and you're going to put it on an imaginary altar and you're going to ask, what are the top 3 things I need to do for it today? And you're going to receive every time. I swear it, you will receive. And if you do that, you're going to watch crazy momentum show up. And before you know it, your book's going to be done. Before you know it, your podcast is live. Before you know it, you're coaching. Like it's the fastest way to watch something come forward. And I love to share it because I just think the more leaders who can use divine guidance in their work, that's how we spread light through the world.
Yeah. I love that because I am all about taking the spiritual and like making it tangible for people to like take action steps, like inspired action towards their goals. So that's such a beautiful practice to do that. God, I can't wait to try these out. So
Yeah, so
exciting.
fun. So fun.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so say that as people are getting into, they've discovered their purpose and their gifts and they're doing that and they're starting to, get the ball rolling and it can't you still even when you're living in alignment with your purpose, get overwhelmed, right?
Yeah,
You
totally.
can still, be loving what you're doing, but be like, oh my God, it's a lot. So do you have any other practices that can help people, continue with this and do it with a sense of ease, with a sense of joy, without letting it get so overwhelming that, you know, you
Hmm.
start to not enjoy it. And to me, it's like we need to take breaks and we need to take vacation and shut it off and just have that time for yourself every single day. But do you have any other tools you can offer us?
So this is my best tool. All right. Like I couldn't do, I mean, just us podcasting right now. Like I didn't know it was half day. I know, mother of the year. Didn't know it was half day.
Oh,
So that meant, oh no, all 5 kids are gonna be home while I'm supposed to be podcasting.
Mm.
And so I use this tool and here we are podcasting and it's super quiet. And I'm going to tell you how is I work with my spiritual team every day. And I'm going to just talk about what that looks like because it sounds super vague and it's like, how could that actually help? But it is my belief that we have a divine team, angels, leaders, guides, teachers who were assigned to us, like they were given to us, but they have to abide by this law of agency. So if we're not asking, they can't participate. And so, as simply as asking for their participation and being super clear. So, one of the best examples is when I publish people's books, if they are not crazy clear on their cover with the cover designer, it takes us 8 tries. Like it's so annoying. I'm like, guys, show up with a hex code for the color. Show us up. Like if you come prepared and detailed, you'll always get what you want. It's the same thing with my spiritual team. If I come prepared with crazy details, like today, I was like, I need from 2:30 to 3:30 to be completely blocked out. I need somewhere for my little one to go. I need somewhere for my olders to go, and I need it to be quiet and clean and easy. And then sure enough, ideas start to come in. Oh, you can ask this person to watch them. Oh, my older ones text me, said, "Hey, can we go to our friend's house straight from the bus?" Perfect. That's what I was praying for. Fantastic. Right? Like all of a sudden everything falls into place in the way that I asked, because they have all these tools that as a human I feel like I don't have. And I know this sounds super crazy for a lot of people, but if they just played with it and watched how everything falls into place, it would all be real.
Love it. And this audience will love all of it, and they'll
Okay.
play with
Okay.
it.
Perfect. But I do want to
And
say real quick,
yeah.
because I like to really, because there's like so much in the spiritual world. There's a lot of light, there's a lot of dark. So when I call in my team, I ask that all of my angels, my guides, my leaders, my teachers, my helpers, my healers, the ascended masters who've been assigned to me, like, let's call them all in and through the highest order of truth and compassion and the divine light. And I've learned that from, I think Gabby Bernstein's had some stuff like that. And then I took some of my own words and I just kind of mold this. And this allows us to call in the highest support, not like the
Mm.
mediocre. Like I want like the big guys coming and helping out. Right. And so I just kind of want to presence that if anyone's new to that idea.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, why wouldn't we want the big guys helping us?
Right.
And I want to thank your big guys for like helping you figure that all out today. So
Thank you. They're the best.
um I would love to hear more about your publishing house. That's super cool. I mean, we weren't planning to dive into that, but like when did you get into that? And then how are you doing that on top of everything else?
I know, right? I don't really know. Except that this is probably one of my favorite stories of all time, because this is how I feel like the divine works. The divine puts an idea into your heart where you're like, that's impossible. Who am I? Like, who am I? Who am I to run a publishing house? I don't have a college degree. I have 5 kids and I also have like 7 jobs. Like, there's no way I can own a publishing house. But 3 years ago, when I was publishing my first book, I got a very distinct impression to meet with the lawyers, make it an actual publishing house, get everything set up so I could publish books. And I was like, fantastic, I'm going to start publishing books. And there was just nothing, like nothing, 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 nothing. And I was like, why did the divine ask me to do that? Like, that seems stupid. Like, I feel so embarrassed that I thought that was like a real impression. And I think this happens a lot. And that's why I'm presencing it, is that we think when we're invited to do something, it's just going to show up the next day. But it's not. It's like planting bulbs in the winter so that they can sprout in the spring. That's what happened. And I remember my business account for the publishing house, it was down to $14. And I was like, I think I should just close it. Like, I'm never going to own a publishing house. This is so silly. And it was like a very clear, no, you don't. And then a month later, someone I was coaching was like, I need to publish a book. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have a publishing house. She was like, what? I'm like, surprise. I have a publishing house. And so then we figured out how to publish her book. And then it was like 5 more people were like working with me and they're like, I want to publish a book. And then all of a sudden we just started doing a little bit of publishing. And then about 2 months ago, it just came alive. It came alive. I hired someone to work with me so I didn't have the whole load on my shoulders. And in the last 2 weeks, we've published 4 books. I've got
Wow.
3 more coming through. And what's so special about it's called Freedom House. What's so special about Freedom House is that I'm only publishing books that bring light, healing, or truth to the world. And so it's like every book that comes through is blasting light through the world. And I just see this vision of Freedom House being this like beautiful channel of like divine truths, and every book that comes through is just going to be in that vibration.
Oh, I love that. That
I
is
know.
so cool.
Right?
Oh, yes, that's amazing. And just such a beautiful way to help bring that to the world, you know? birthing it to the world one book at a time.
Really, I know. It's like my love of birthing, which obviously I love to birth. It's so like such a magical experience. I feel like this is my midwifery. Like, I don't know if that's a word. Midwifery? Wifery?
Wifery? Midwifery?
Wifery?
I don't know. I don't
But it feels like I get to be a midwife. Like I get to truly help these women birth these books into the world. And it's so much joy. It's so much joy.
oh, so incredible. I had something I was going to say, but I can't remember. But yeah, tell us about your books.
Yeah. So my first book, it was the beginning of my first experience channeling work with God. Like up till that point, I didn't ever even have like, I didn't really have a coaching business. I didn't really have anything, but I knew I was supposed to write this book, and it's called The Hidden Gifts Within the Trauma of Sexual Abuse. It came right after my huge breakdown, rebirth, healing. And it was like the training wheels for that muscle, the muscle of receiving from the divine. I got to watch, we only had one computer at the time. My husband left for work at 6:30 and he wasn't home until late. And so I got up every morning at 5:30 and I felt like the divine wrote the book and I just showed up. And it was like, oh, what is this life? And then it was like, as soon as I said yes to that experience, it was just the next thing and the next thing. And then it just has been this beautiful uh, snowball effect of the divine asking me to create and me always saying yes and just watching it. You know, this is like, and I think the divine actually puts a lot on my shoulders. So I really get that it's not me. Like I'm
Mhm.
so clear that everything that I do is not me. I just am like a vessel for it. And so
Mhm.
like there's just zero ego in anything because I'm like, yeah, I couldn't do any of this crap by myself. Like it's just not possible. You know, like my kids were not in school. And this was in August. All five were home all the time. We just moved to a new city. We had new nobody. We moved to a new state, like 6 states away. So we know nobody. We have no community. There's no school. There's no church. Like it's me and my kids. And then the divine asked me to create this spiritual entrepreneurship program, which was like 30 classes. Like I was like, are you kidding me? How am I going to do that? And then at the same time, the divine asked me to ramp up Freedom House. And at the same time, I got asked to write this new book called Rise Up and Awaken to the Joy of Being Human. And all of it was created within 4 weeks of time. Like every piece, the book written, the artwork created, like the course written, uploaded, people joining, everything. And I share this story because it's not possible what happened in those 4 weeks. Like it's just not possible with all my kids home.
Yeah. I can't even.
And so that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, when we ask the divine to participate with us, anything's possible. And like the divine showed me this trampoline park that was 30 minutes away and it was $13 a month for each kid. We got to go every day for 2 hours. My kids jumped to their heart's delight and I had free Wi-Fi. And I wrote my whole course and my book at the trampoline park.
And they were probably exhausted after like just
They were so happy. And it was like, oh, this is how we get to create at high levels. It's not with us, it's when we commune and participate with the divine.
Yeah, and there's like 2 points to that I love. Like one, um energy is always available to us. It's when we're in alignment and we have that support that we suddenly have all this energy that we this like infinite well of energy that we didn't know we had. And also time is fluid. Like we can make it longer, we can make it shorter. Yeah, so it just really reminds me of both of those things, you
Mm,
know.
yes, I love it. And I always say, like, creation's not linear. Like, we think, okay, I'm going to do this and then I'm going to do this. And the divine's like, no, you're going to pull all of it together in no way, shape, or form, no linear direction. You're just going to show up and be a yes. And then we get to watch, like, being in a garden, all these different flowers show up everywhere. It's just so
Mhm.
beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, and I remember what I was going to say earlier. I was going to, when we were talking about kind of like manifestation, how basically like when we are trying to we want something, we want to manifest something, a book or a baby or a partner or like anything, a course. When we put that out there, right? First of all, it's a divine idea. Like if it's something that speaks to our soul, and we're really in tune with that, like that is something that's meant for us. But if we're not ready for it, like most of the time when we want something, it's like at this vibration, we have to meet it, right? So we have to like take the action steps to do it, and spirit will continue to give us the tools we need to show up and learn and step up and raise our vibration and get higher and higher and higher. And I think that just relates back to doing all that at one time. It's like you had these divine ideas come in, you're like, I need to do these. And then you had that support to just have all the tools you need, and you showed up and you made the choice to do the action steps and do the work to get there. And it happened so fast.
I love how you, I love how you explain it. It makes me think of, I'm just dropping all these books because this, if I could meet, well, there's a lot of people I'd like to meet, but I really love to meet Florence Scovel Shinn. Have you heard of her books at all?
No.
They're very quiet. Honestly, I just feel like the divine plopped it into my Audible because I never remember buying it, and somehow one day it was just there. And she passed away a while ago, probably like 20 years. But oh my gosh, girl, if you read The Game of Life and How to Win It by Florence Scovel Shinn, you just spoke her truths, the truths of if it's divinely yours, it will come. It's just this magical, but oh my gosh, if you read her work, you will just
I
like,
will.
you'll be your best friend. She's like my best friend.
I love that. And then, you know what I find so cool? Like the deeper into this world I go, the more conversations I have, the more books I read. It's like I will say those things and like, maybe I haven't heard it put that way from someone else, but then I do. And it's like, it just shows that it is all so divine and it's not me, because it's out there, and like people who are far away or who aren't with us anymore, like um they've spoken those same words. So I love that. And
Yeah, just magic.
um it is. It's all magical.
I
That could be
know.
the title of the episode.
Oh, please. That'd be the best
All
episode.
magic.
But
Yeah.
it's so much proof. And I think that's something that a lot of times when people have spiritual experiences, their mind wants to take it away. Like, oh, that didn't happen. You really didn't have that idea. Or, you know what I mean? Like people deal with
Mhm.
like, wait, was that real? Did I really feel that? And when we're given proof, like just like what you said, like you spoke something and then you hear it from someone who came, died 30 years ago, you're like, oh my gosh, no, like that's divine truth I was given. And then it creates this confidence. Oh, I am receiving from the divine. Okay, if this is happening, then anything can really happen, because if I'm working with the divine, we got like a support system that will not fail. And I just think
Mhm.
that proof is so important.
Yeah. Just trust in the magic. Like just trust that that was a spiritual experience, and you're not crazy.
Right. Yes. I never. Yes, you're not crazy. It's
Yeah. Well, I love that you bring up books. I always ask people at the end if they have any books that they want to recommend or like resources or anything. So, is there any other books that or authors that you think we should check out?
yes, Alana Fairchild. I am, oh, gosh, I'm so grateful for her work. Her work has been such a huge piece of my growth. She has some amazing books. All of her oracle cards are just unreal. And I'm not going to lie, I had the most like Oprah moment ever when she was on my podcast 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
I about died. It probably is my worst episode ever because the whole time I was like, Keira, you better take it down. Take it down, Keira. Stop geeking out right now, Keira. It's for sure my worst episode of all time because I couldn't even be with the fact that she was there with me.
You're like, I just can't right now. I can't exist.
But her
Oh
work
my
is
God.
so amazing. It's so amazing.
Well, and that is so cool that you were able to bring someone on that you hold in such high regard. Have you aired the episode yet?
Yeah, it went live.
Amazing.
Mhm.
Cool. Well, we will all have to check that out then.
But then also have a lot of compassion on me because I really had a hard time interviewing her.
Then we'll listen to another episode and hear like you're normal.
Okay, good.
That's so, I mean, I've totally had those experiences where I'm like, that was not my best, but I was just like so excited. And
Oh, I know. I know. Do we have like 2 minutes for me to share how that
yeah.
happened? Because
Yeah, please.
this was like pure angelic guidance, love, like just because our spiritual team just loves us. Like I was one Saturday, I felt so depleted. I had just launched something, and launches just can be really depleting, you know? And I told myself, I'm going to read today. So I got on my bed and I got all cozy and I'm reading Alana's book. And I think it's called Crystals. I don't know. I can't remember. It's like Crystals 1111. It's so beautiful. And while I'm reading her book, I hear in my heart, go to Alana's website. And I was like, all right, sure. I'll follow it. I pull up my phone and it's 1111. And that's how my angels really show me they're there. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we got some help here. For some reason, they're telling me to go over there. So I click through, I go to her website, and it was like the contact button was just highlighted. So I click the contact button, and sure enough, the top one says media. And I hear, invite her to be on your podcast. And I was like talking out loud, like, you guys are crazy. I am not inviting Alana to be on my podcast. Like, are you kidding me? She's like Oprah to me. And but I was like, but I can't deny that I'm being super guided right now. So I sent an email out, totally didn't even think about it. That night, 11 o'clock, I get this ding, and I hear, answer your phone. I look at my phone, there's the email that says, Alana read your request and she would love to be on your podcast. Can she be on it on Thursday? And I was like, what? I'm like literally punch dancing through my house.
Yes. You're like, team, clear the schedule, get rid of the kids. Thursday, it's on.
I couldn't sleep for 3 hours. I was legit just punching the air, like swinging my arm, like, oh my gosh, how kind that my spiritual team just like did that, just pure joy, just for pure joy.
So cool.
I know.
I love that because I mean, I've reached out to people. I'm like, there's probably no way, but you never know. So I think like, especially when you hear the whisper like that, it's like, do it. And I think people can just be like, no, there's no way. So and then they don't even try. It's like, why not? Who cares? What do you have to lose? Go for it.
Right? Nothing to lose.
That is so cool. Ah. Well, Keira, you're so inspiring. I loved this conversation. And can you just tell everyone like what's next for you, where they can find you, where they can find your podcast, how they can get in touch with you, all of that?
Yeah. I would say the thing that I am most focused on right now is my spiritual entrepreneur program. It's helping women how to take their purpose, their message, create into divinely gifted offerings, and then actually having success with their work so that they can become leaders of light. And so that's my main focus. I actually stopped all my one-on-one coaching, stopped my mastermind, because I just feel this deep call to gather women. And so if they want to know more about it, they can just DM me on Instagram. That's like texting me. It's so easy. You know, my name's Keira Poulsen. Just get on over there, send me a message. You can email me at contact@keirapoulsen.com. I do have a beautiful website, super not up to date. So they can go over there. They can go play in it. It's keirapoulsen.com. But I'm just always in such high creation. It's like I can't keep up with what I've been doing. I am launching a Kickstarter for my new book in January. So if they want to just follow me on Instagram, they'll know. And what I'm really passionate about is it's called Rise Up and Awaken to the Joy of Being Human. And I feel this desire to help people who suffer, right? Because I had so much suffering in my life. And I saw that suffering actually deletes joy. So if you're in suffering, it's deleted any joy you felt that day. And so my goal is to really help people feel joy in their cells, in their body, in their mind. And it's a little bit like my suicide prevention program, right? Like, let's find people enjoy being human and we'll keep more people here. So I have a suicide prevention program that I've connected with. They're going to get certain proceeds from every book so we can just really help like really help spread joy in a time where suicide is one of the greatest plagues on the earth right now. And I just feel it's time we help people learn how to move through the suffering and feel more joy. So that Kickstarter goes live January. I'm really excited to let that move through the world.
Beautiful. I'll link all of that for them so they can
Oh,
find all that information easily. Thank you so much for coming on, for inspiring us, and for just sharing your light with the world. It
mm,
was so amazing to have you.
this was so fun. I'm like,
I
oh,
know.
I loved this. Thank you. It was like a burst of energy in the midday. So thank you.
Totally.